While we're on the topic of carbon dioxide, I have here a piece of bread. Now, if you look really closely at the bread, you'll see little holes. And what causes those holes is when you're cooking bread, bubbles form from the yeast. It produces carbon dioxide, and then those bubbles pop, but it gives the bread a very nice texture. So if you didn't have some source of carbon dioxide, you'd bite into the bread and break your teeth, and that would be no fun. We don't want to put dry ice in our bread. That's kind of counterproductive. So there's two ways, if you don't have yeast, that you produce carbon dioxide. And this is one of them. So this is baking soda, okay? So I want to show you how that works. It's sodium bicarbonate, and in order for it to produce CO2, you must have some other acid present in the food. Otherwise, no CO2 will be produced. And you can see the bubbles that are formed. And that's carbon dioxide. And so, again, that's what gives the fluffiness to baked goods like cakes and cookies and bread. Well, something else that's different is baking powder. Baking powder and baking soda are different. Baking powder has the acid built in. And as we're talking about hydrolysis this week, what's formed, the way the carbon dioxide forms is there's baking soda in the baking powder, but there's also some aluminum sulfate. The aluminum ion, 3+, it's a cation, it reacts with water to form hydrogen ions. That's hydrolysis. And then the other substance is the sodium bicarbonate. So I'm going to put a little bit of this in, and you're going to look, doesn't produce a lot of bubbles, but it's got to have some water present. And you'll see some bubbles being produced. Not very many, but enough so that when it's cooked, you can see the bubbles forming there. And all I did was add water. So this is an acid. It's a dry acid. The aluminum sulfate is a dry salt. We want to store it dry, and then it's ready to use and form those carbon dioxide bubbles when we bake with it. So that's the uniqueness of baking powder. It's an acid-base reaction, and both the acid and the base are salts. They hydrolyze to form the hydrogen ions, and then those react with the bicarbonate to produce H2O and CO2, which we see here. And that's what gives the fluffiness to bread or biscuits. And now I'm out of dry ice.